Yo guys, what's going on? My name is Ryan and welcome back to a brand new video on Hijomeatman News, and we're back finally with another Let's Talk. It's World Superbikes round number 5 of the season from Imola, and we're going to go through the 2 races and then all the kind of support class other news as well through those. So let's just get straight into it. Nothing really much to say. Obviously at Imola for round number 5 in Italy. And well, before the weekend kind of got underway, there was a few changes on the grid. We had Eugene Laverty back on the Milwaukee Aprilia. We had Leon Haslam, who was partnering Toprak Razgatlioglu. Leon was fresh off after a double at Alton Park, and he was on the anniversary of Elf, which was a very nice looking bike. If you saw the Let's Talk we did before the weekend, the preview, then you would have seen it in there. If not, then you'll see it throughout this video. And then also after Thursday, he had a fitness test, and Leon Camier was declared fit to ride after his big crash in Aragon. Unfortunately, though, Leon did FP1 and FP2, did a very long run in FP2, a race run pretty much, 19 laps. And he basically decided that he wasn't going to be fit enough to do a full race, so he decided to sit out. And that's where Jason O'Halloran came in, the Aussie BSB rider, who also come off a podium in Alton Park that week before, and he stepped in for Leon Camier, but unfortunately his weekend ended early, as we'll kind of get more on that later. But going into the race, it was a very kind of exciting time because we had, you know, riders back. We had a few different riders there. We also had a potential record-breaking weekend for a few different reasons. And, well, the man who was about to break all the records started very, very well indeed, because in Superpole 2, he was able to put his Kawasaki on pole position, and that is Jonathan Ray. He was ahead of Tom Sykes, and then rounding out the front row was Chaz Davies, who was going for his 3rd double at Imola in a row. The second row was headed by the opening 2 rounds of the season, races of the season at Australia, Phillip Island, Marco Melandri, with Xavi Flores in 5th position, and Eugene Laverty back on the Milwaukee Aprilia was able to bag himself a pretty impressive P6 on that Aprilia RSV4. And then it was the MV Agusta of Jolly Torres, who had a good weekend, did the MVs. Again, we'll move on to all that a little bit later with the Aruba.it Racing Junior team of Michael Rinaldi. Good weekend again for him. He's been obviously drafted in for the European rounds as a 3rd Ducati bike, and he's been doing very, very well indeed. Really impressive. And again, another good weekend at Imola, but we'll move on to the races in a second. Lorenzo Salvadori, the 2nd Milwaukee Aprilia, he lined up in 9th ahead of Alex Lowe's, rounding up the top 10. And then Leon Haslam on the Pagetti Racing Elf bike, he was in 11th place. Another good result for him in qualifying. Obviously, he got a podium in Donington Park, and then unfortunately race 2 he got took out last season. But I think a P11 at a track that you kind of haven't rode at in a very long time, ahead of Van der Mark, Baz, Toprak, a few very good names down there. So yeah, Haslam, good start to the weekend in 11th on qualifying. He had a good day as well in practice, just getting inside that Q2. Obviously, if you kind of new to World Superbikes, it's like MotoGP, where the top 10 go into Q2, and then in Q1 the top 2 go into Q2. So it's quite simple, but you have to get inside that top 10 at the end of Friday, because they have three practices on Friday, and then the practice 4 on Saturday, qualifying and race 1 on Saturday as well, and then warm up and race 2 on Sunday. So that's kind of the format. Van der Mark on the Pata Yamaha was down in 12th position, with Loris Baz in 13th, Toprak Razgatlioglu in 14th position. His fellow Turkish rider, Kenan Safoglu, quite an emotional weekend for him. We'll move on to that again, though, later on. Roman Ramos in 15th, Leandro Mercado 16th. PJ Jacobson on the Triple M Honda World Superbike team. Only just missing out on that top Honda slot was Jason O'Halloran. He was in 18th ahead of his teammate Jake Gagne, who is back after his injury sustained in Aston. Ondrej Jezek and Yoni Hernandez in 20 and 21st position. And then Vladimir Leonov rounding off the field in P22. So that was how the grid looked for race number 1. And, well, it was kind of a bit expected, I guess you could say, for the race winner, because Jonathan Rea, for the 19th time in his career, won the race from lights to flag. He led every single lap, every single corner. He took his 58th win, and that meant he was one off Carl Fogarty's all-time record of equaling Carl Fogarty's of 59, which hasn't been touched since Hockenheim in 1999, when I believe Foggy actually set that record. Second position was Tom Sykes, who took his 11th podium at Imola, and he joined a select group of riders because he's only the 5th rider to pass the 3,000 point mark. He's got exactly, after race 1, 3,012, and then 0.5, because obviously he lost the title by 0.5 to Max Biaggi a few years ago. If he finished 8th or above on Sunday, which he did, he will move ahead of Carl Fogarty, and then he will only have Jonathan Rea, Haga and Troy Corser ahead of him, and obviously one of those 3 names will keep racking up the points, and that is his teammate Jonathan Rea. Marco Melandri rounded off the podium. He was looking for another good result, and he got one, 3rd position, which meant that if he managed to do the same thing in race 2, he would be the first Italian to do a double at Imola, a double podium that is at Imola, since Michele Fabrizio in 2009. Chaz Davies, a tough race for him. He ran on at the very end. He bashed the final chicane, and unfortunately dropped a load of positions and made it real hard work. It didn't kind of look like he had the bike he wanted all weekend, because race 2 he was looking kind of all over the place, really, missing apexes, losing the front, having moments. He was just, I don't know, he didn't look like the Chaz Davies that we've seen, and obviously that was quite important because Chaz wanted that 3rd double in a row, but got denied by Jonathan Rea in race 1. But Chaz's 4th position means he will start race 2 from pole, and that means obviously he's got a good chance, because Chaz Davies has never lost a race at Imola that he started from pole position. So he had a good chance for race number 2. Another top 5 in 2018 though for Xavi Forés, his 8th top 5 in 2018 to be exact. And that was a very good race for Xavi Forés. He's been having an absolutely incredible kind of run of form lately. He's been at the front. He was at the front in Aragon and then crashed. And yeah, he's definitely been having a good season on that Barney Ducati. It's obviously not the full factory bike, and he's been beating or matching the 2 factories of Chaz Davies and Marco Melandri. So Forés has had a very good run of form, and I'm sure he will carry that into the next round at Donington Park in 2 weeks' time, which I will be attending. So yeah, look out for stuff on that on the social medias, which you can see somewhere down there. I think I was going to say up there, but we don't have that overlay on the Let's Talk. 6th position was Magic Michael van der Mark, fresh after another double podium at his home weekend in Assen. A very good race there, and a not bad top 6 in race 1, the top part of Yamaha, because unfortunately Alex Lowe's had a few issues in race number 1. Michael Ruben Rinaldi in 7th place. He has a very good start of the race, but fades away at the end. He destroys the tyre. He just struggles managing it, and unfortunately I think that was kind of what happened in race 1 and race 2 to be exact as well, because both of them races he just kind of dropped away a little bit, the pumpkin. So hopefully, you know, if he can learn how to manage his tyres a bit better, then he's got to be a podium threat, because he has the pace. He just doesn't have the experience as everybody else around him. So that's definitely going to be something to look at for Michael Rinaldi. But when he gets the grasp of it, watch out for him. He will be at the front. Lorenzo Savadori in 8th position. That was his best result of the season, which meant as well he will have his best starting position, because if you finish in 8th position, you start 5th for race number 2, and that will be his best start position of the season. He was ahead of the wildcard Leon Haslam, another top 10 in World Superbikes on a wildcard on that Puchetti Kawasaki. Very good stuff for him, and he was ahead of Alex Lowe's, his good friend Alex Lowe's. They go golfing together, they do a few other bits and bobs together, as they both live kind of in the same city as myself. So yeah, good result for Alex Lowe's. Another top 10. He would have wanted to be at, you know, the front inside the top 5 or top 6 with his teammate. But for saying he's had the weekend, he had a big crash in FP1 about 9 minutes in. Toaster, the hairpin, kind of a strange one. It kind of just snapped away from him and he kind of had a bit of whiplash. He proper face planted the wall or the floor, and then the bike went sliding off into the wall. So yeah, not bad result for Alex Lowe's. His 9th point finish at Imola. However, earlier on in the race, Leon Camia's replacement, obviously Jason O'Halloran, he had a big crash coming out of the Villeneuve chicane. And unfortunately for Jace, he broke the inside of his ankle and had a small fracture to the outside of his ankle. So a very nasty injury for Jason O'Halloran, which is going to put him on the back foot a little bit because he's going to miss the test that is taking place tomorrow. It's Wednesday today, I had to double check then. Tomorrow at Snetterton. Then he will most likely, apparently, according to one of the BSB mechanics that is at my college, he is going to miss Snetterton as well. Dan doesn't look like he'll be riding either, so it might be another appearance for Kianari in the BSB class. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it might clash with something he's doing in Japan, but you never know. Kianari might be back at Snetterton, and they might have another rider out there as well. So that was the story of race 1. They were the results for race 1. Interesting kind of fight throughout the race, really, because it was a complete different story from the front of the field to the mid-pack, because obviously Ray had cleared off, and then there was just that fight from about 5th position to 10th position. I think Alex Lowe's was the last rider in that fight. Top Rack Razgatoglu was in there as well, but he wasn't able to claw himself inside the top 10. So with that being the race results, the grid for race 2 was Chaz Davies, Xavi Forés and Michael van der Mark. Michael Rinaldi, Lorenzo Savadori and Leon Aslam. Marco Melandri, Tom Sykes and Jonathan Ray. Obviously the front guy is the 3rd position one, 2nd and 1st. So it kind of reverses the podium on the 3rd row. Laverty in 4th, Torres in 5th, even 4th row even. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, I'm getting lost. Laverty was in 10th position on the 4th row, Torres was in 11th position, and Alex Lowe's was in 12th position. The 5th row, Loris Baz, Razgatoglu and Roman Ramos. The 6th row was headed by the Argentine Mercado, who had another dodgy weekend, a very tough weekend in kind of all kind of aspects, really. Crash and mechanical problems on Friday. Yeah, just a bit of a tough weekend for Leandro Mercado, but I think he managed to pull it back in race number 2. We'll move on to that in just a second. PJ Jacobson in 17th, Jake Gagne in 18th, Andrzej Jezek in 19th, Hernandez in 20th, Leonov in 21st, and obviously Jason O'Halloran, who didn't start the race. So obviously Jonathan Ray got another victory at Imola, and that was his 59th win, which meant he equalled the all-time record that was held by Carl Fogarty since, like I said earlier, the 1999 Hockenheim weekend. And not only did he share the race wins with Carl Fogarty, he actually passed Carl Fogarty in the amount of doubles, because he got his 17th double at Imola, which meant he passed Carl Fogarty and Troy Bayliss as well, which now means that Jonathan Ray is the all-time record holder for that in his career. And again, it also continued the tradition of Imola. In the last 6 weekends over the years, race 1 winners have gone on to win race 2, and that's exactly what happened again this weekend. So race number 2, Jonathan Ray, like I said, his 59th win, his 17th double. He was ahead of Chaz Davies, who couldn't convert for the first time at Imola his pole into a win. Tom Sykes was able to get 3rd at the end over Xavi Forés. Jody Torres in 5th position, a great race for the MV Agusta to get a P5. Alex Lowe's, who ran off the track at the Variante Alta earlier on in the race, he was in 6th position. Yet another, I believe, his 10th point finish at Imola. Michael Rinaldi was in 7th position ahead of Top Rank Razgatoglu, who finished in 8th. Eugene Laverty on his return back to World Superbikes in 9th, and Leandro Mercado rounding out the top 10. Leon Haslam in race 2 crashed with about 3 laps to go or something like that at the Tosa hairpin. Unfortunate stuff for him because he was in the fight as well for another top 10. And unfortunately, he made a move on Rinaldi actually into Ravazza, the downhill left-hander. And unfortunately, kind of went very wide on the exit. He was trying to make time back. And unfortunately for Leon, he did slip off that. But as we take a look now at the championship standings, Jonathan Ray leads the way with 209 points. Chaz Davies is in second, 162 points. Tom Sykes third, 137 points. Melandri fourth with 131 points. Xavi Flores in fifth with 124. And then it's the two Pata Yamahas of Van der Mark and Lowe's, 113 and 92 for them. Then there's a big gap to Top Rank Razgatologlu, who has been doing the business this year on that Pachetti bike. He was in 58. He's on 58 points. He's in 8th. Jody Torres in 9th. On the MV Augusta at 52 points. Loris Baz also has 52 points in 10th. Leon Camia in 11th on 42 points. Michael Rinaldi in 12th on 39 points. Lorenzo Salvadori in 13th on 33. 32 for Roman Ramos. 31 for Mercado. 27 for Lavati. 17 for PJ Jacobson. 17 for Jake Gagne. Davide Giuliano on 11. Yoni Hernandez on 11. And Andre Jezek on 2 at the bottom of the standings. Kawasaki lead the way in the Constructors' Championship ahead of Ducati, and then Yamaha in 3rd position, then Honda, Aprilia and MV Agusta at the bottom, and then right down at the bottom, actually joint at the bottom, is BMW. So going on to World Super Sport, we're going to very quickly get through this video because I do have some stuff I need to do, so just pressing on quite quicker. Kind of quicker than normal for these Let's Talks. World Super Sport, it was obviously, if you guys don't know, Kenan Sofuoglu's last race in the class, and well, it was quite a weird one because he went through practice, went through qualifying, put it on the front row, and then didn't actually compete in the race. He did the warm-up lap, and then he come in at the end because he promised his mother, because it was Mother's Day kind of everywhere else in the world apart from kind of here, and he kind of just said, look, I'm not going to race as a present to you, as respect to the president of Turkey, because they're quite close friends and family and all that. I'm not going to take part in the race. So he did the warm-up lap, come into the pits, and that was that. That was Kenan Sofuoglu's final ever outing in World Super Sport. But that didn't stop us from a great race, because we definitely had one of them. Another Yamaha domination. But once again, for the second weekend in a row, an MV Agusta thrown in the mix as well. Now, Lucas Mahias, the reigning champion, he was able to take the lead. He started pulling away before then crashing down at Ravazza, which was a real shame because he had the pace. The track was not quite up to temperature. Cluzel said that his lap time was definitely a lot slower than he expected. So maybe Mahias saw his lap time and thought, I need to get a certain lap time to pull away. He was trying to get that lap time and he crashed. Not sure. But then another great battle at the front. 2 races in a row now. Assen was incredible. And, Imola wasn't too bad either. But Caricasulo, he got to the front. He started pulling away. But he made a mistake at the Aqua Minerale. The double right-handers ran off the track and slotted back into 4th. He had to then fight his way back through. And then finally, on the final lap, it was able to get by Cortese. And that was the MV Agusta of De Rosa. He was able to get up into 3rd position and hang on for that on the last lap for the final podium slot, and his 2nd, 3rd in a row. But talking of second, it was the 2nd win in the season and the first man to do 2 wins in the season this year, Jules Cluzel and the NRT Yamaha. Another great weekend for Jules and the Yamaha, and well, he's gonna go on for big things. He's definitely got the package. Obviously, we know it is a very Yamaha dominant championship. You have to look at this and also the British Supersport class. Yeah, you have Ben Curry doing, the business as well on the Gearlink Kawasaki, but you do have to kind of say Jack Kennedy kind of has the edge over Ben in that class, and that definitely seems to be the case as well this year because, for the first time in a long time, there hasn't been a Honda at the front or in the, I don't even think on the podium. I think the only non-Honda, non-Yamaha manufacturer even has been an MV Agusta on the podium this year. So you definitely have to say it is a Yamaha dominant class, and that seems to be the case. And it's the case in the championship because the top 5 are Yamahas. Rani Krummenacka leading the championship ahead of Lucas Mahias and Sandro Cortese. The double race winner now in Supersport, Jules Cluzel, is in 4th position ahead of Federico Caricasulo. Then it's Rafael De Rosa on the MV Agusta in 6th position with Luke Stapleford on the Triumph. He was in 7th position. Nicky Tully, who moves into Moto 2 as from this weekend, he is in 8th position. Anthony West, who had a great fight with Tully in the final chicane, is in 9th. And then Thomas Graninger on the second NRT Yamaha rounds out the top 10. Now, in other news, I briefly touched on Tully there going into Moto 2. He will leave the World Supersport paddock after Imola, and he will be going into Moto 2 this weekend with the Sepang International Circuit team, the team that Hadi Siren was meant to ride. Obviously, he went into MotoGP. They brought in Zulfami Khairuddin. He's not been doing too well. He's left the team, and they will now bring in Nicky Tully, the Finnish rider. He will be getting a chance to compete in Moto 2. Maybe Mika Kallio has got him in there. I don't really care who got him in there. It's just nice to see another full-time Finnish rider, and I hope that Nicky Tully will be able to impress in Moto 2 by the end of the season. We know how hard it is. We saw Taron McKenzie jump from Supersport into the Stefan Kiefer racing bike last year and struggled with it a little bit. But hopefully Nicky Tully, we saw him appear kind of out the blue. He did a wild card in Supersport. He was running at the front, and I think definitely he will be able to find his feet in Moto 2, and we'll have to wait and see what he can do on that SIC bike. In World Supersport 300 though, we had a very nasty crash for Nick Kalinin, who was fighting at the front on his GP Project bike, and unfortunately on the straight he got clipped, sending him and his bike headfirst into the wall at the side of a track, the concrete wall. Nick has been diagnosed with a polytrauma with a lateral talon navicular dislocation, which is I believe somewhere near the ankle, as well as a complex fracture of the neck, and then also is a fracture of the head of the talus of the left leg. So the head of the left leg, basically, I think. I'm not very good with the bones and all of that in the body. Sticking with the Supersport 300, we hope Nick gets well soon and is back out there for Donington Park. He currently lies 8th in the championship, and hopefully he will want to get back out for Donington Park. Whether it's realistically possible, we don't know yet. I wouldn't say it was, but I hope that Nick can get back out there for the race at Donington Park in a week's time. So, sticking with the Supersport 300, Ana Carrasco wins her second race. She got a win in Aragon, I believe it was last year, and she won the second race this year and in Imola, and it was in dominant form as well, and she now leads the championship by a single point, I believe, which is very, very good stuff for Ana Carrasco. And then in Stock 1000, to round out the video, it was a wildcard success because Matteo Ferrari, the CIV rider, he stepped in to the weekend. He stepped in this weekend on the Stock 1000 Ducati, and he was able to take the win. The championship leader Marcus Reiterberger only managing, I think, 5th position after making a lot of mistakes in the final couple of laps. So that is that. The Supersport 300 championship is Carrasco, Grunwald, Daru. That's the top 3. And then the top 3 for Stock 1000 is Marcus Reiterberger, Tamburini, and Sheeb, rounding out that top 3. So very, very good stuff. That's going to be it for today. I know this video's kind of seemed a very, very kind of wishy-washy and a bit all over the place. I've kind of had to rush through it. I've got other things that I kind of need to do, so I do apologise about that. We're at Donington Park next weekend, so make sure you're following all our social medias to stay up to date there. And that is going to be it. So there you go. If you guys have enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe. It was another domination weekend for Jonathan Rea, a record-breaking weekend for Jonathan Rea. Will he be able to do it again at Donington Park? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.